With us, everyone, Captain Martin Avan is technical advisor to the Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau. He joins me live from our studio in Abuja. I was asking you earlier what the update is from the Investigation Bureau as regards the boat accidents in Niger and Taraba states that we saw last week.
Oh, okay. Very good evening to you, Nifemi, and thank you for having us. The Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, we had deployed a GO team of 4 of our best safety investigators who proceeded with the investigation earnest. We've gotten reports so far. They were at the market and they interviewed some of the maritime workers and community members of the unfortunate incidents that occurred. We were able to gather as much as what is already published in the press. We have the numbers of the fatalities and the survivors, including the fatalities, including the boatmaster, some goods that perished as well, with 13 others. We have already gotten some probable reasons, causes why this mishap occurred, and a tree stump that punctured the boat. Then the boat took on water and eventually capsized. We are continuing to finalize some of the interviews as on site. We could not get all of the information you would expect that we'll have for a final report, but we are hoping to put out the conclusions quite soon and take some lessons learned from this unfortunate incident.
The Taraba situation is of greater interest, in my opinion, because there's a viral video that we're showing just earlier now, showing wooden boats being used to ferry vehicles due to a collapsed bridge. Isn't this a clear disaster waiting to happen? Is the NSIB proactive in solutions like these, or do you only act after lives are lost?
Of course not. Technically, accident investigation itself is reactive in nature, but it transitions quite fast. When we deploy our safety recommendations and the lessons learned into the proactivity of ensuring that these kind of occurrences do not repeat. So the NSIB, as you know, has only been mandated from 2022 to investigate accidents across the maritime sector as well as air, rail, and road, also pipeline transport. So we have met quite a dire situation on ground, but we are not folding our hands. Under the leadership of Captain Alex Badi, the Director General of the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, we have already started bringing together the rest of the agencies in the maritime world as well, to see that even though the NSIB's role starts after an accident, we are putting the infrastructure, the technical infrastructure, if you like, not necessarily the the physical one, but the frameworks to ensure that the agencies that are responsible for these safety recommendations that we are making, will be proactive in acting and, precluding these reoccurrences.
But sadly, we keep seeing repetitive accident patterns, especially in inland waterways. Does NSIB feel like it's a cycle of investigate, report, repeat? Because agencies don't act on your recommendations. What do you think is really happening here?
You're right, Nifemi. That is an unfortunate situation of things, but the NSIB, the vision of the Director General is quite clear. A vision we all share as his team now, is to transition from that, that space where it's a circle of report, make recommendations, and they're not acting. That's why, this has been a very hectic week, culminating yesterday in the multimodal stakeholders, workshop in which we had all the agency players in the maritime, railway, air, all modes of transport invited to come so that we can look at ways of partnering. First of all, we want to stop acting in silos, apologies for that. We want to start acting cohesively as a unit, whereas when we have accidents investigations, followed by the recommendations that we're making and the lessons learned, we are going to be able to have, units, sort of, if you like, committees, task force across these agencies that see to see to it that these recommendations are indeed implemented. Now, I mean, we know where we are already. It's not a name calling. We have been out there in the field. The NSIB, we've been to, where other accidents have happened. We've been to Shiroro in the past, and we've been to Agatu in Benue. We've been to Lokoja, and we've seen it's the same circle, but there is improvement. There are things to take home. For instance, in this accident, it's pertinent to mention that the 7 passengers that were wearing, the life vests are part of the survivors that were, indeed rescued. So we need all our agencies. We also want to appreciate the press, like you are doing, to continue to bring some spotlight on this, so that the awareness that we're trying to create is a holistic attitude. And when we're given the chance, we have a vision that is far. The DG looks at it where we'll get to a point where we're not looking at just the regulations that we are making now to try and get other players together. We're looking at how the roles are shared. We have our strengths. NIWA, for instance, it's, we look at their efforts. We've seen. It was easy for us when we came in to sit back and say they are not implementing our recommendations. But when we go out to the field, we go on their vessels to some of these accident sites. We organize stakeholders and other trainings within the sector, and they are invited. They participate with us. We share our challenges. So we are looking to build on our strengths and our various mandates and ensure that it's not a circle of recommendations repeat. And then we're going to come out with gains. We are definitely not marking ourselves or our other agencies, especially in the maritime. Things are well defined in aviation, but especially in the maritime, we're not marking ourselves based on effort. We want results, whereby we have the statistics. If I would read them to you, they are quite damning. Last 2 years, we knew that at this time of the year, this is the number of accidents we're expecting, and they are playing out. So this is sad, to say the least. We're going to ensure with this collaboration, as the DG, I can tell you for a fact this week, he hasn't slept 3 hours, neither has any member of his internal team. It's not about praising it. We're just telling you about the efforts that are in place, to ensure that this collaboration bears fruits, and we see a decline in the number of these accidents on the inland waterways.
So this workshop you talked about was first of its kind for the Bureau. Correct me if I'm wrong. And one of the major calls from that summit was for interagency cooperation and tech adoption. But I'm just curious to know what this looks like in real terms. What is going to change moving forward to ensure that ministries and agencies aren't working in silos, like you mentioned earlier. I think 3 regulatory drafts were unveiled. Can you tell us precisely what this means and how soon Nigerians can begin to feel the impact?
As technocrats, we don't like to dwell so much on the problems. We like to come head on and face it. The leadership of Captain Alex Bade Jr. as a DG NSIB, has already shown, as you've seen, at some point we are actually concerned, where the lines are, so that we're not seen to be replicating, or to be delving beyond, our mandate. However, we can't sit and fold our hands. We look at our guiding, frameworks from, say, the Marine Casualty Investigation Code of the IMO, for instance. But we see our situation, our peculiar situation in our operating environment here in Nigeria. We see where we are needed. So it's a first step. These are baby steps. Our vision is long. We know exactly what to do. We have peer reviews with other places around the globe that have gone through similar, if you like, challenges. But these baby steps are necessary, because before we were here, there was no interaction. There was little interaction. It's always a continuum. We are building on from where we took over, and we appreciate the work done, the platform that was led for us to springboard to the level that we're at. But because we are coming to the platform, most of the boats on the inland waterways, as you see, are unsafe. If we as the NSIB were to go and investigate an accident, where do we start? But because the likes of the Nigerian Navy, the NIWA are already there, and they avail, the capacity they already have. And then we come with the technical capacity that we have, the extensive training, we have of our investigators, and the frame structures we have in aviation, transitioning them into the maritime. I mean, we have a focus on the maritime sector, especially the inland waterways. We went on a tour during the making of our regulations. We were at the Lekki Deep Sea Port. We were at jetties, local jetties on the Niger, on the Benue, even in the river and the Niger Delta areas. And it's alarming. It's a stark difference. You can see a developed world on one side, and then, in this same, state of Nigeria, and then you can see like abject lack of structure in order. So we're going to try and bridge that gap. And these agencies coming together, all of them, we're contacting NOSDRA, we're talking with NIWA, who were at the stakeholders, a workshop yesterday where we're reaching out to NIMASA, every, Shippers Council, and then there's going to be a holistic, awareness. You see, even as of last year when we started investigating these accidents, we'll go to the site and nobody is wearing a life vest. Now we are going and we are seeing that, okay, a few are wearing. Oh, and the Nigerian Maritime Workers Association, for instance, in Ghana, when we were in Kogi, they complained. They mentioned that, kudos to Hyperdeck, they've gotten quite some, but it's a fraction, maybe 1/4 of what is actually needed. So we are going to continue efforts at this, is to build on what we have. When we get to a level of awareness, then we can springboard, to the long-term vision that we have of applying the highest level of safety standards on the maritime waterways.
But many Nigerians still don't fully understand the NSIB's role. Do you really have the power to enforce compliance, or are you just making suggestions in such a way that you are now going to count on these other agencies to implement? Okay, so
there's a wisdom, in the frameworks of the NSIB, just like our peers around the world, to not be the enforcers. When I can tell you, I led a team that went to the hinterlands, went to Ghana, went to places like Barbaro. This was when we were making our regulations. We didn't need to, for instance, apologies. We didn't need to. Sure.
It's all right. Just go ahead.
Can you help me?
Well, it's all right. We're going to have him fix his earpiece so that he can hear me. We're exploring precisely the role of the NSIB following the boat mishaps that were recorded last week in both Taraba and Niger states. For many Nigerians, they believe that we have come this far following the same stories, the same issues of boats, people even faring on the roads on the water without wearing life garments, life jackets, and what have you. And if whether or not we have a sustainable framework that is working. The conversation has been on whether or not this bureau, the Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau, really has the powers to enforce many of these regulations and many of these developments that we're tracking, especially at the time where Nigerians now have to record more fatalities on our waterways. Captain Alvin, can you hear me now?
Thank you, Nifemi, for your patience.
Beautiful. You were talking about the wisdom of having NSIB not really being the enforcer in this regard.
I'll give you some instances. We interacted with NIWA. I was actually at the dockyards in Lokoja, and they told us frontline that we came down hard on them. That listen, it's not enough to show some working because it's usual to see work done, but here we're going to be measured by the safety that we record, not just the fact that we are seen to be doing some activity. So they put some challenges across to us. Because they are also enforcers, they have punitive measures that they can, apply. When they go in to even investigate, which part of their roles, before we came into this role, was part of the mandate accommodated that. For instance, they go into a community and nobody's being able to be identified as the boat master, But when we came in, we went into those same communities. We were welcomed. We were in Niger. I led a team that went to some of these locations, Baro, Agatu, on the Benue River. We went, to Baro on the Niger, and we could interact with them. We spoke with the Maritime Workers Association. We found ways in which, when we write our recommendations now, we're going to be tailoring them to the way that they are actually enforceable. So it is not imperative that the NSIB is able to enforce. It is imperative that the NSIB makes recommendations that are enforceable, such that when NIWA goes in there, when NIMASA goes in there, whoever has to enforce on, the maritime side, be it our oceanic waters or the inland waterways, they are able to achieve this. That is the reason why we are focusing on bringing together all of these agencies. There is no need to replicate these rules. It's much more expensive for government for there to be a replication. If you look at an instance here where we, have to also go and enforce, we will all be classified under the same, category of workers, and we may not be able to get, to the truth and see what can form those facts and the lessons learned that we take out of our investigation reports.
Quickly, I want us to go through your 2024 report. Did human error really account for the majority of fatalities, and what do you think they say about the quality of training, regulation, or the systems that are meant to really protect lives?
Yeah, you see, we have a whole, we want to solicit for the cooperation of all of the agencies involved in safety. This is the message that the Director General gave me today, Captain Alex Bade Jr. We have a long vision. We see what is achievable. We just need for them to accept that, listen, let's toll together and work together. Now, it's different. It's night and day. If you go to aviation, you can even be talking about human error. And if you come to maritime and talking about a boat master, you're talking about ignorance. They don't know any better. A few of the educated people that get to ply this mode of transport, somebody gave us a report that, listen, they wrote us a heartfelt letter at the NSIB that they got to a jetty. If they had to use the land transport, it would take them 18 hours and nightfall. And when they got to the jetty, they know that from observation, the boat is overloaded. The cattle, the goods, and all of the persons on board. Life vests were not available. But they thought about it. Listen, this is daytime. If I don't go here and I take the road, this is the chances that I have. It's even worse going the other way. So talking about rail and aviation, you could talk about human error even. Talking about maritime, especially in the inland waterways, we're talking about a level of education that is not there. Until we start putting together jetties that are controlled, we have some boarding points. It's not just anywhere you can launch. Some boarding points are now controlled. Now, the Nigerian Marine Police will be stationed there. NIWA will be able to have a presence there. The players will be there. With that, we can now control and start the basic enforcement and basic licensing, both of those boats, and the people that man them. Whereas in aviation, we can be talking about human error. However, at the NSIB, we are research-oriented. We're not really focused about human error from one operator. We're looking at systems that preclude that error to even come in place. What could be the sources of error? Could it be fatigue? Could it be a lack of training? So those are the things that if we do, we liaise with the regulators, which we do very well in the air sector with the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, we can ensure that the licensed people, are at the level that error due to lapses are a thing of the past. So there are holistic systems that can address our multifaceted problems, both in air, on the waterways, in the rail, and other modes of transport as we're looking at now.
Captain Avan, we've completely run out of time, and I understand what the Bureau is meant to do and what it's doing. But how would you rate in 30 seconds your operational readiness as an organization? Do you have the trained manpower, the tools, and the requisite funding to investigate across the entire country?
Thank you very much. There's always a starting point. The DG Captain Alex Bade always says that let's aim for the stars. If we land at the moon, is a starting point. We can plan a relaunch from there. So what is the alternative? Sit down and fold our hands because we don't have the requisite, capacity now. We're starting to build it. And where we don't have it, we are already reaching across to utilize those that have it where we are lacking it. Is the equipment with NIWA and the Navy and some of these, So we are all about improving our capacity. And we are hoping that, the government is focusing on the maritime safety as well as other modes of transport. And we are going to get more equipped, and our mandate can be, suitably financed, to get to the results that we want to get to.
Good place to leave it. Captain Martin Avan is a technical advisor to the Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau. Thank you so much for talking to us on the program this evening.
Thank you, Nifemi. My pleasure.
That's our show today, everyone. Remember, you can watch it again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. See you again at the top of the hour for the news at 7.